If you're waiting for somebody to come in and save you with the money that they can invest in your business, you are wasting your time because you could have been using that time to validate whatever idea that you have.
I think if you have too much money, you rely on the money to think that you're going to solve the problem. When sometimes it's creativity, it's skill sets, it's having the right team, but also staying focused to what the problem is and what you're solving.
There's a fallacy about just having cash available to you that's what's going to make you successful. No, that's not what's going to make you successful. What's going to make you successful is everyone says you need money to make money, and that's absolutely not true. We started our business with $0, zilch, nothing. And we made $47,000 in our first month. With inflation, tariffs, layoffs, AI, taking people's jobs, everything that's happening in the economy right now, you can start with nothing. And today we're going to tell you how.
If you think you need to have startup capital before starting your business, this might be the most important video that you watch this year. We're going to show you how having zero startup dollars is actually not an obstacle, but your greatest advantage. Tilmon, we've been reading how venture capital is down 35% this year. And as scary as that sounds, I almost love the fact that it's forcing entrepreneurs and early stage founders to be scrappy. What do you think?
I mean, I think the reality is kind of what we've talked about before. When you're starting out, you have this idea that you need to have everything figured out. You got to have the money in the bank account. You got to have 100% confidence in the idea. But the reality is when you have 100% confidence, you're probably already too late with whatever idea that you have. So if you're out here and you're waiting for somebody to come in and save you with the money that they can invest in your business, you are wasting your time because you could have been using that time to validate whatever idea that you have with the people who can actually use your product or service and understanding whether you could solve a problem or not. So it's probably great that there's not a lot of VC. Well, I mean, there's still billions of dollars being shared, but at the same time, if you're out here as an entrepreneur and you have an idea, you have a problem that you're hoping to solve or that you feel like you can solve, you got to get a little bit more creative than you have before.
It's fascinating because I've seen both things. And again, we'll talk about this in this conversation. I've seen where too much money has caused a business to fail. I think if you have too much money, you rely on the money to think that you're going to solve the problem. When sometimes it's creativity, it's skill sets, it's having the right team, but also staying focused to what the problem is and what you're solving. And sometimes you think that when you have money, it masks all the issues that you have within your organization and inside of your business. And so does it suck that it's 35% down? Yes. But also I'm watching innovation in a new way that's really exciting.
And what's fascinating, even with all of that, I was reading something in the Wall Street Journal, and it was just talking about even with college graduates, like the unemployment is higher than it's been because people are realizing that AI is capable of doing so much more than it was before and so much more than a lot of people are able to do in entry-level positions or as interns. And then, of course, some of the conversations that we're having, there are some incredibly amazing while also scary things that are happening, and scary in a way where it's going to force us to be more creative, force us truthfully to be more human and utilize what we have to our advantage in a completely different way. And so we talk about the power of broke and how that can truly be an advantage. You need to get out and start having some legitimate conversations and understanding what people are having issues with and what are some of those challenges and what you can do to help people either solve things faster or solve them better.
Right.
And if you're a person who's in college, if you are seeking a degree, whatever it is, like the world is changing right before our eyes, whether it's OpenAI and Anthropic and all of these organizations who are bringing people in to speed up the process.
Right.
And AI is also doing it. I was reading something earlier today and it was talking about how ChatGPT was, or OpenAI was trying to shut down AI, that system, and it didn't respond. It completely ignored the prompt. So there's a lot of like fascinating things that are happening, but at the same time, what we talk about a lot is constantly positioning yourself and constantly making sure that you're doing everything possible to improve your skill set, to make sure that you are better equipped for what's coming, because I'm telling you, it's coming fast, but it's coming.
Okay. So let's get tactical. When someone comes to us completely broke, these are the things that we tell them to do. Number one, we tell them to take an inventory of their skill sets and monetization. What does that mean, Tilmon?
We all have some kind of skill set we can monetize, whether you're a college graduate who's looking for a job right now and don't really know what to do. You could turn that into entrepreneurship because there's so many things that you learn while you're in college. There's so many things that you just learn in life that you can turn that into a monetizable skill.
Right.
And you can get out here and start teaching people that thing and charging for that. Whether you're a creator, you're a founder, you're a business owner, there's something that you know that so many other people don't know and don't know how to do. You could be a plumber, and that's a problem for somebody. That's a real, legit, urgent problem for people. You could be an AI startup founder, and you can create something that other people can utilize and get out here and have some conversations to validate that idea. If you have an idea, you don't need to put money behind it immediately. You just need to get out here and figure out if that's what people want or people are having issues with. And when you're thinking about, I have this incredible idea, well, the proof is in the pudding.
Right.
The proof is when you get out here and start to have these conversations and people will tell you they don't care about it, or people will tell you how much they care about it. And you use that to build your business or move on to the next thing.
You know, I think it's Brian Chesky, the founder, or is it Chesky? Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb. And when they solved that problem, it's during a recession, right? Go back to 2008. Yep. There's no money to be made. They had gone to VCs to ask for money. And I think at the time they were asking for $150,000. And the VC was like, no, this would never work. It's never going to happen. And for them, they knew that as 3 broke college students sleeping on someone's floor, just trying to navigate what they were dealing with, the problem they could solve immediately was simple, but it was for themselves.
Yep.
And when you can validate the problem, when you can validate your own skill sets in the process, even with, with Instacart, that was a problem. He had a whole different company, killed that company, and started Instacart, understanding that there was a simple problem that he could solve by himself. He was an ideator. We think about a Stuart Butterfield, who's the founder of Slack and Flickr. 2 failed games, but he still found something inside of the game that they were obsessed with and could talk about that would solve real world problems. His intent was never to solve inter-employee communication, but that happened to be something that was in the middle of what they had already created and was failing. So if you think you don't have any skill sets, if you have the gift of gab, you are a speaker. If you are great at sales, there's something that you can do there. If you know how to be a graphic designer, solve that problem. Do what you do well, exceptional, and then build a team. If that means an equity share, and that's how you build a team, and we'll talk about that later or in another video. But like, you don't necessarily need immediate money to move your company forward. You can do it with having the right people around you that you can build, who understand and know the vision, but you also have to be a great leader. That is a skill set that you can monetize.
Taking a step back really quick, if you were to start over right now, how would you go about doing that?
The first thing I would do is know that what I have built with Sara Lovestyle, what I've built with Influence to Equity, I am the proof of concept. So I would go from me, and then I would get 2 or 3, 4 people. I would do that for free. I would give that service of social media for free. I know that I have 10 years of a marketing background. I used to work in politics. So there are skill sets that I've gained over the course of my adult life that I know and can, with proof and with confidence, that I can sell. I know my skill sets. I'm not you. I can't sell like you. I'm pretty good, but I'm not as good as you are. And then the next thing that I know how to do is how to build exceptional talent. So if that means an equity share, because I can't afford to pay them. If I know that social media is free and I can garner reviews, if I can audit myself and my team and the people around me and the companies that I can give for free, go find a boring business that I could do marketing for. If it's a laundromat or if it's whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. But that's what I would do. I would go to boring businesses or go to social media directly and showcase my marketing skills and monetize the skills that I already know that I have. I don't need to teach steps 5 through 10 if I'm at a 6. But what I do know is I can teach to the 1 to 3. Matter of fact, we know someone who has a $30,000 coaching program. Is she necessarily qualified? No, but she's really good at marketing and she's good at sales because she's able to sell it. It has an entire cohort of folks who are in this $30,000 program. Now, here's the truth. Is it a level 10 program? No, but she's able to share the level 1 to level 4 to other entrepreneurs and is still able to monetize. That's what I would do.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to pay me $30,000 to teach you how to sell, teach you marketing, teach you social media marketing, whatever, talk to me because I'm listening. Moving the conversation forward a little bit, all jokes aside, what I think about is Phil Knight's story with Nike.
Yeah.
And of course, this is at a different stage of entrepreneurship. This is a different stage of building a business when Nike was Blue Ribbon Sports.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, I can't pay my employees. He goes to his vendors, his suppliers, and he's like, look, you need to give me some more time. We need to figure out how we're going to pay our people in order to continue building what we're building right now. I'm selling a ton of shoes, but I don't have the cash to pay my payroll. He renegotiated the terms with his vendors in order to ensure that Nike could continue to build. And through that level of creativity, Nike has become what Nike is today.
Right.
I'm not saying Phil Knight was exactly broke, but he was broke enough to where he couldn't pay his employees, or Nike as a company, Blue Ribbon Sports technically couldn't pay the employees, but he got a little bit creative. And a lot of times there's a fallacy about just having cash available to you, that's what's going to make you successful. No, that's not what's going to make you successful. What's going to make you successful is actually being creative with what you have, being creative with your ideas, being creative with how you grow, being creative with where you're investing your time in order for your business to grow. And Phil Knight is a perfect example of that. There's a ton of other examples, which we could be talking all night if we went through all of them, but there's power in not having money. There's power in having $0 where you actually got to get out here and sell. There's kids who in the early 1900s, like the real early 1900s, not what most kids talk about today, where they were going out and doing shoe shining. They're going out and like literally validating, hey, does this thing work? I don't know. When I was a kid, I sold chips and juice and Big Texas cinnamon rolls and squeezers and candy and all sorts of things because I knew there was a market for those things where I was. When I got to college, I started selling shirts and hats. And when I was about to graduate from college, I started to work for somebody, but I was selling cars because that's where I was going as a salesperson. And as an entrepreneur, my thought was always to sell something. Whenever I've been like, I need to make some money, I go out and sell. I have some conversations. And if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, or I don't know exactly which direction to go, it doesn't matter. Go out and see if there's a market for what you do and start to build from there. And that felt so long-winded for some reason. I felt like I was preaching a little bit.
That was good. That was a sermon.
But yeah.
That's our preacher's background right there.
So just based on even that part of the conversation, how important is it for us to really be willing to get out and validate if these ideas actually make sense and if there's a market for it?
For sure. And so the second skill that we're talking about here is a zero cost validation. Sometimes we think that we have to pay for the validation, but you can give your value. So if it were me, you had asked me earlier, if I had to do this over again, I would find 3 to 5 people that I know that I could provide value to in their business. And in exchange for their reviews, in exchange for their validation, in exchange for beta testing a product, if I was a CPG brand, if I was a hardware brand, I would find 5 of my friends or 5 folks who I know could use a particular product and have them validate or invalidate for that matter, because there is something to be said about feedback and improving your product. Like, for example, the first version of ChatGPT 1.0 is not the version that we have now.
Right.
But he was able to test it with folks within, meaning him, Sam Altman, testing it and validating it with folks within his industry, testing with folks in Y Combinator, testing it with a smaller pool of people to know if this is something that people even wanted at all. The other thing that we love to do and that I love to do is whenever we go to events, it's having these conversations. One of the fastest ways that I know someone's a new entrepreneur is when they're afraid to share their ideas, when they're holding it so tightly because they think like someone's going to steal it. But the truth is, people aren't going to implement. We've talked about this before. Most people aren't going to implement it.
Yep.
And two, the process is too hard. Being an entrepreneur is too hard that most people just aren't going to deal with the trenches and the agony and the stress and your hair falling out or going gray for the ladies. It just, when your face breaking out. The truth is the process and the journey is too hard that most people aren't going to do it. And so one of the things that I do is whenever I go to events, I'm asking the questions to see if people are interested in the service that I have. I'm asking to see and validating in my conversations if this is something that people want. If most people say no, if 8 out of 10 people are saying, no, we're not interested, then I need to pivot to find something else that can fill in a gap or bridge the gap of problems and issues that people are dealing with within their niche or their industry. But if I ask 5 people and 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 go, you know what, that's a really good idea. You know what, I really need help in this area.
Right.
Then I know to move forward and to continue to validate and ask more questions and also find more problems that I can solve. But the simpler the problem that I can solve, the more money that I can make.
I know you're going to think what I'm about to say sounds crazy, but nobody else is going to tell you this, so I'm going to give it to you. You could sell something that you don't even have. And I think back even to when I wrote this book here. I was 23 years old. I started pre-selling the book before I even finished writing the book. And I took that same knowledge and carried that over several times. I wrote another book I sold another book before I even finished the book. But even at a different level, because this is $15, $20, but even at a different level, you can sell something before you have it. I sold $6,000 services for us, made 12 grand for us before we even had the thing ready. Made $2,500, $5 grand before we even had the thing ready. And I built it and it looked immaculate by the time the people saw it, but I sold it before it was ready. I validated the idea. I went out there to see, hey, if people actually want this thing, made a few phone calls, sent a few emails, built a newsletter, and started to sell just based on the premise of, if we're going to do this, let's see if it actually works. And let's see if people want this thing before we put it out there and put all of our time in creating a course and put all of our time in creating something that other people don't want. Let me see if it actually is a real thing. And that's what we did. And that's what you can do for your business, for any idea that you have. And I know everybody is tired of courses right now. But even if you could have a course and there's value in having that course. Like right now, I paid every quarter for sales courses just so I can continue to learn and continue to grow, continue to get better. There's still a market for a lot of these things that you're thinking everything is oversaturated right now. You can tell yourself that all you want to, but the reality is this. If you go out there, you have enough conversations, find out what people need right now, and they need it badly, and it's an urgent need, you can begin building and creating from there.
You know, a founder that I think about that's done this exceptionally well is Jennifer Lee. She's a shoe designer. And I am obsessed with her. I don't care what she creates, I'm buying it. That's how great her brand is. And what she's done from the beginning is test out each shoe and launch it as a pre-order. The truth is, she probably only made 1, 5, 10 of these shoes in their process, right? You take a photo, you do a photo shoot, and then you validate it by showing it to your customers to see if this is something they even like.
Right.
Now you end up with 5,000 pre-orders, 10,000 pre-orders, 100,000 pre-orders of this shoe. And the truth is she's not only validated, but now she actually has the money to now pay for and manufacture the shoes that she needs made for her customers. There's nothing wrong with a pre-sale. There's nothing wrong with a pre-order. There's nothing
Get
wrong.
it done.
Get it done by any means necessary. Now, don't be manipulating folks and don't be a scammer. But when you have a great product and something that you can share that solves a problem, which for me is a pair of shoes that I always want from her, it leads to immediate profitability because I have product and people have already paid for it.
But let's even talk about that a little bit, because what most people don't understand is even buying shoes or selling shoes is solving a problem
It is.
for somebody.
Me.
So and I know you just talked about it a little bit, but what is it about those shoes that makes you want those shoes?
Oh, okay. You know, I don't do free promos, but I'm going to give a free promo to Jennifer Lee because she's phenomenal here. One, we know that there's a scarcity for the product. So she's not launching an unlimited amount of this particular shoe. So if we know that there's only 100 shoes, best believe when she says pre-orders at midnight at 11:59, I'm on there waiting to click pre-order. So she created a scarcity of a product. Two, I know that these products are so well made and they're so exceptionally handcrafted by the folks that are putting these pieces of shoes together that I don't want to look like everyone else. I know that when I wear this shoe, I'm going to get a feeling, an experience. I'm going to feel expensive and I'm going to feel beautiful and sexy as I strut and I walk in this shoe. But I know the likelihood of me walking into a building or into an event, and I know that there's not going to be 100 other people wearing my shoe. But that is the brand of luxury that she's built. And also, the crazy thing about Jennifer is we don't even see her face. She has built this entire brand and I think I've seen her face one time. But the shoe is sexy. The shoe is expensive. It's luxurious. And so when you think about shoes, we think, oh, it's so oversaturated. It's not. She's built a very successful brand around something that most people would deem saturated. When I think about a Jessica Rich, her shoe makes you feel rich and sexy, and there's just an elegance about this thing that's being built. It's an experience that they are providing that we want to be a part of that makes it feel exclusive.
So what you're saying is there's a certain type of status that you feel when you purchase this shoe.
I do.
And that the fact that other people don't have this shoe, kind of makes you feel a little bit special.
Yes.
So it's solving the problem of, okay, if I want to elevate my status a little bit,
Exactly.
let me make sure I get this exclusive shoe.
Can I walk in them? No. But does it make me feel like that? Absolutely.
I mean, that's it. But another part of that is, in thinking about the next step in all of this, is that $0 marketing.
Yeah.
Because even the word of mouth of somebody talking about this shoe, like I've never heard of Jennifer Lee before. She clearly doesn't make shoes for me, but I've never heard of her before. But there's a way in building this business with no money. Start creating content and having people talk about your stuff. Show in real time what's happening, how you're building, what you're building, the conversations that you're having as you're training yourself with developing a skill set. How do I get better at this thing? If I wanted to become a speaker today, then I need to be in front of a camera and putting my message out, having people hear me, and understanding for people, what is it that you want me to help you to accomplish? Do you want to become better in the gym? Do you want to become better in life? Do you want to become stronger in your faith? What are the group of people that you're hoping to serve, and getting that message out there to them, whether you're talking about it as a talking head on a podcast, or if you're creating something and just showing that process, continuing to evolve by understanding the problem that you solve. That rhymed.
It did.
That was actually pretty dope.
That was
Continue to evolve by the problem that you solve. I'm gonna just drop the mic right there, even though it's sitting right here in my face. I'm just drop it.
That's the clip right there. That will be tomorrow. All right. So people always ask us, Sara, this sounds great, but what do I actually have to do? What can I implement tomorrow morning?
The fact of the matter is, you have to start with some type of foundation. And throughout the course of this conversation is developing that foundation. So in the first week, we've talked about the disrupt framework, when you define and decide what problem that you're solving, understanding the skills that you have that other people will pay for. Find a way to source whatever it is that you want and figure out if there's a market for that. So if you know, all right, well, I've talked to this vendor, I can get this product for a little bit cheaper. Let me see if there's other people out here who want that. And then you get those people to talk about, hey, I bought this thing from Sara and she helped me do X, Y, Z. Whatever it is, build your foundation just based on that in the first week by understanding the skills that you have and what people are willing to pay for.
And in the second week, I would validate and pre-sale. Validate the thought, validate the product, validate the concept. If you're going to pre-sale, what is the time frame that looks like? How much do you need to create? What does your business require from you with the skills that we learned in week 1 that you'll be creating and navigating about yourself? So you're going to validate and you're going to pre-sale if that's available to you.
And the next part of that is all the people that you're working with, that you're giving out free stuff to, or that you're doing free services for, get those people to do testimonials. And quite frankly, it really doesn't even have to be free. You can just get out here and see if there's people who need that service or product that you have. But then you want to get testimonials from people based on the people that you've served and how well that you've served them. So you want to do everything in excellence. Don't half-ass any of this. Go out there and put in some real effort, even if you're doing it for free, because those are going to be the people who tell people about you, and they will be the ones who refer people to you. In every business that I worked in, the referrals are where the money is.
Yes.
When people come back to you and when they share your value, when I was selling cars, people coming back, you actually make more money from the people who are being sent to you, because now you develop a level of trust with people. You've built a level of rapport with people. So get testimonials, get feedback, even if it's $0, let people tell people about you and what you do, the value that you bring, and why it's important for them to work with you right now.
And what I would do in week 4 is growth and scaling. Reinvest. What is the priorities that you want to reinvest back into your business? If it's your own money from your 9 to 5, if it's a hobby that you're doing on the side, if it's reinvesting into your skill sets, figure out what you're willing to reinvest. The other thing that I would do is figure out a referral program. You were just talking about that. What does that system look like? If someone, are we giving them 10% off? What does a referral program look like if you so choose? And the next thing that I would do is a 90-day planning. Like we do 12-week year. So in those 12 weeks, we are planning our business, reinvesting, learning. Are we taking sales courses? Are we growing in our business, the mentors, the team? What are the priorities that we have for the next 12 weeks? What does it require to bring in revenue? If I have no money, going back to the first thing we said in the opening line, if I have no money to start this effing business, the number one thing that I need to focus on is making sales to bring in revenue. And so navigating, what do you need to do for the next 90 days to bring in sales?
If somebody's telling you that you have to have money right now to start a business, it's absolutely not true. I know there's a lot of things going on in the economy, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things happening quickly with AI, but you have the ability, you have the skill set. Somebody needs what you have to offer. You just have to become more visible. You have to show people what you can do and understand the person that you're serving and understanding the problem that you solve. That's how you build from nothing.
And I think of a founder that's a close friend of ours who has a consumer product. It's a hardware product that is incredibly expensive, even to just get the single beta, just the one to test the product. But what he has done is validate his idea, the drawings, the renderings, everything that he can, bootstrapping and being scrappy, asking folks who he knows would be interested in his product. And the resounding response has been yes. But the truth is, it's because he's building differently. It's forcing him to be creative.
Are you going to wait for the perfect time? Or are you going to start right now with what you have? Are you going to start building? Regardless of all of these things that are happening in the world with AI, with tech, with job loss, with unemployment, with tariffs, and everything changing day by day, you have to decide for yourself, you're going to do something for yourself. You're going to build for yourself. So the question, what are you creating that's different?